The Rambam says in Perek Gimel Halacha Yud that the usual accepted custom of the order of blowing on Rosh Hashanah, the tzibur and public kachu, is as follows. And we'll go to the Peirush at the bottom. After you read from the Torah, you return the Sefer Torah back to the Aron HaKodesh. That's their minig. Our minig is to really leave the Sefer Torah on the bima. We don't return it before we blow. And there, the broadcast stands on the bima. The Gemara writes in 585 that the one who stands and blows on the bima stands where they read the Torah. And so they do in all of the congregations of the Klal Yisrael. The Gemara cites from the Rokeach in Simon 200, the Psikta Darav Kahana, that it's the key should be in the place you read the Torah, to also include the law that we stand on Rosh Hashanah the Torah, to not include but rather to tie it into the Torah. And after we turn the Sefer Torah, everyone sits down. But that's according to the Rambam. The echod, the blower, stands and blows. The reason they have to stand, even though it doesn't say in the Torah in the Gemara, the Maimonides says we should because of the honor of the tzibur. As you see in Soita Mem Amud Aleph, that the aim of tzibur should be upon you. You have to stand because of that tzibur. Here too, there's a great arousal to anoint God King in heaven when they stand and blow. However, if you want to sit and blow, you still fulfill your obligation. Another reason that you stand because of the brachas, because all the mitzvahs should be standing. That's what we find in Orach Chaim 27. And Beis Yosef brings it down. Simches, the name of Yerushalmi. We don't find it now Yerushalmi. And we learn from the Posuk, and he stood and he blessed. When he did Birchas Kahana, the Kahana always stand. The Torah in 585 writes a third reason, because it says a day of Torah shall be for you, and we learn Exer Shofar Lochem for you from Lochem, that it says by the Oima, and you shall count for you. And just like you have to count standing, because it says in Dvarim 16:9, from when they begin to cut in the wheat in the stalks in the field, and of barley, and koma means standing, and koma means the wheat that's standing, but don't read it the barley that's standing, but read the koima when you are in full stature. That means when you're upright. So too, you have to blow when you're upright. It's brought in the Rosh and Sochim, and the Godol brings it down that we don't find this in all of Shas. The Godol cites the source of Sikta of Kahana. Shulchan Aruch says the halacha is to stand and blow. The Magen Avraham writes that since you learn it from Sriya Soima, from the counting of the Oima, you shouldn't lean on anything while he's blowing in such a fashion that if it's taken away, he will fall down. Because that's called sitting. And even though he has to stand blowing, if he sat, he fulfilled his obligation. Because lochem is only reliance. To begin with, you should do so. Yosef writes that even though the blowing has to be standing, they didn't obligate the congregation to listen to stand. Another reason that they didn't require the tzibur to stand is because you're going to hear it standing with kiyas on the order of the brachas. And now The custom of the tzibur is to stand even at the time of blowing. They blow before Musaf. And still, it's called sitting, since you have a right to sit. That's according to many of Ashkenaz. But many Sephardic congregations, the only one standing is the blower, not the congregation. The nusach, the text, or the words of the bracha are Baruch Hashem, blessed are you Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, God, the King of the world, Asher Gitshonu b'tzvaysav, who has commanded us with His commandments, and Tzivonu l'shmoya kol Shofar, and He commanded us in this instance to hear. That's why it says Tzivonu, to hear kol Shofar. A bracha always has 4 parts to it. Blessed are you Hashem, that's the first part. Elokeinu melech haolam is the second part. And if there's a mitzvah, so it says that you sanctify us with your commandments, and you obligated us to listen to this shofar being blown. Everyone answers Amen. And the Rambam has the text, Lishmoya Kol Shofar. To listen to the sound of the shofar, according to his opinion, the mitzvah is to hear, as we said at the beginning of Hilchos Shofar. But according to Rabbeinu Tam, the main mitzvah is to blow. You make the mitzvah al tkiyas shofar, but we say Shmoya Kol Shofar. And then afterwards you make another bracha of Shechianu, again with the 3 parts, Baruch Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, Shechianu, V'kiyamanu. And everyone answers, and everyone answers Amen. The Torah shloshim tkiyos. You blow 30 notes. Why? Because the tashrat, which is a straight blowing, a broken one, medium size, a wailing sound, and a blowing sound is 4 notes. You do that 3 times, so you have 12. And 3 times just with the breaking sound, preceded and followed by the kia, is another 9, so up to 21. And 3 times the wailing sound in the middle, preceded and followed by a long blast, the kia, is another 9, you have 30. We say that we do this because out of doubt as to what is a trua. And these are called the seated ones because people are permitted to sit at that point. The custom of blowing tears started after, meaning that you blow it before Shemona Esrei, before the repetition of the silent prayer, began after the time of the Gemara. Before then, they did not blow this order. Why? Because, as we learned before, the main idea of the tears has to be on the order of the blessings. The blessings don't only say start recited in the Amidah, in the silent prayer, or afterwards. The reason why they began to blow it before, the Balamor writes, is because of the ones that were sick and wouldn't be able to stay for the extended time that it takes to hear all the tkiyas, and they did it before Musaf, because you can't daven Musaf alone on Rosh Hashanah. And you're not supposed to, as an individual, pray in the first 3 hours of the day, Musaf. You find this in Avodah Zarah, Masechet Avodah Zarah 4b, Shulchan Aruch 591-8. And even in the public, the people usually pray later, and they say piyutim, which are liturgy of Krovitz, which stands for Kohen of Yeshua B'alei Tzadikim. That's meaning things that we praise to Hashem. Therefore, they also had the blowing before for the people who are sick and those who could not stay the entire time till after Musaf. And they make a brocha, and with the short version, Shofar. And they relied on the establishment of this bracha, what it says in Psochim 7b, that you make a blessing before any mitzvah, except for going to the mikveh, and shofar, that you do it after you do the mitzvah. And from this, there's a proof that they made a small bracha to the kiyah shofar, as there's a small, just as there is a small bracha for tefillah. That was the first thought of the Gemara, but it was decided that the shofar is blown before blowing, the bracha of the shofar is before blowing, not afterwards. But the very fact that there is a short blessing for Peirush shofar did not change. Therefore, the bracha is the Shemar called shofar, and that's from the later customs. But the main tkiyas are really supposed to be according to the order of the brachas that we have, the three middle blessings of kingdom, commemoration, and blowing, as Rashi says in Rosh Hashanah 34b. Beirach leitoka, if you bless and he didn't blow, meaning he said the birchas at tefillah, which are malchus according to the shofaris, kingdom, commemoration, and blowing. Regarding them, it says somebody who blew and afterwards he had somebody who did bless these 9 blessings and afterwards he had a shofar, he didn't have it at the time, that you can do it later. What Rabbi Yitzchak says, why do you blow and bewail when you sit, and blow and bewail when you're standing? That's something else. But to us, we don't have a biros atkiyah. We don't have any special blessings that we state other than the blessings that are found in the silent prayer, which is kingdom, remembrances, and blowing, obligation to blow shofar. Now, in the words of the Baal HaMeir, there is 2 novel ideas. One, that the blowing before Musaf was not found in the days of the Talmud. It was only later. Secondly, that the bracha that the Rambam says that is only a later custom. The Chachomim, the Talmud relied on the brachas of the prayer service itself. See further from his words, the understanding of the words of Rabbi Yitzchak says, why do you blow and bewail when you sit, and bewail, stand and blow, and when you're standing, is in order to confuse the evil Satan, the evil angel. It doesn't mean that it is not referring to what we have the tkiyas, which we call before Musaf, but there are other commentaries who learn that Rabbi Yitzchak is actually on those that we blow before Musaf. Rabbi Yitzchak said, in order to confuse the Satan, the Torah explains, why do we blow since to confuse the Satan immediately before prayer? Why? So that he should not be able to prosecute or find things against us during the prayer service itself. Yesodei explains that the intent of Rabbi Yitzchak is not the tkiyas of when we were standing, but certainly that's the main and most important time to blow is with the 3 middle brachas that we recite in the silent repetition, but the repetition of the silent Amidah. But when he questions, why do we do the previous one? We're going to blow anyway on the order, and they are the most important ones. And he says, because in order to confuse the Satan. So the Ran also explains, and he adds, therefore, they preceded tkiyas that are said when one is able to sit, even though he preceded everything with an important blowing, which is when we recite the three blessings of kingdom, remembrances, and blowing. Because if they were started with the order, then we wouldn't be blow after the prayer, because that's only to confuse the prosecuting angel. And therefore, they preceded everything with the tkiyas that are said when one is seated. That because everyone was sure that people will be very careful with the blowing of the shofars that are according to the order of the three added blessings that are said in the Amidah and the silent prayer. As we see, the Ran in the Torah, the source for sitting is in the Gemara, which actually says, why do you blow while they're seated, and blow again when standing? To confuse the Sultan, according to the minig was in the days of the Gemara, because it discusses this in the time of the Gemara that disagrees with the Baal HaMorah. This is the reason that the Rambam begins the simple custom, because really we should do it according. It's not an obligation of mitzvah; it's a custom. Doing it with the three brachas is the mitzvah, but we also blow before Musaf according to the Baal HaMorah because of the sick people, those who are unable because of circumstance to stay for Musaf. According to the Torah and the Ran, it was already found earlier. That's what Rabbi Yitzchak is referring to when he says that we blow again when the people are standing, to confuse the Sultan as to which are the important blowings. For the Rambam, there's no proof what is his position. It doesn't accord with the Baal HaMorah that it was done only later. It was instituted only later, after the time of the Talmud, or like the Torah and the Ran, that it was done even in the time of the Talmud. Oime Kaddish, and you recite the Kaddish. Why? Because they already put back the Sefer Torah. According to the Rambam, we say Yahalalu at that point, and we put back the Sefer Torah and recite then. And we stand and we daven Musaf, Rosh Hashanah, and then the Achar Shigrim Shliat Tzibur V'Chasarviyah Shehim Malchiyas, and then when the repetition is done, they did not blow during the silent prayer. That's instituted later, according to Kabbalah, according to the Ari. And after they finish the fourth bracha in the repetition, which is Malchus, which is kingdom, as we learned in Halacha 7, you have to hear the blowings according to the order of the three blessings in the middle of the 9 blessings recited in the silent Amidah. Shliach Tzibur says 3 brachas, the first 3, and the fourth one as well. But that's a prelude, a preparation for Tkeya, to blowing. Tkeya, the first one is that we blow in this order. Here, the way it's blown is 3. It is a straight blast, a medium blast, a waiting blast, and a straight blast, which is 4. And Tkeya, Pamachas. You only blow this order once. Remember, when before Musaf, you blow 3 and 3 and 3. 3 sets of each, which is 30 voices. Here we just had 4. And you make the second and then, according to the Rambam, you would then recite the 5th blessing. That's Shu's Aquinas, which is remembrances. When he finishes saying that bracha to Tkeya, he blows Tkeya, a long blast, Shloisha Shiurim, the three medium ones with Kiyah, and a long blast, only once. Then you say the last bracha, which is Shofars, and when he finishes saying the blessing on the which would be the sixth blessing, he blows Tkiya through a Tkiya, blowing, wailing, and Tkiya one time. And he finishes the tefillah, which is, would say, Moedim and Sim Sholem. Regarding on the second day, it would seem here from the Rambam that you do make a blessing, since he didn't differentiate between the first day and the second day. And so with the Maimonides explains. And the reliance, the Rambam wrote before in chapter 210, at the time that you do 2 days of Goliaths, the same way you blow in the first day, so you blow in the second day. In actuality, this is a disagreement of the early commentaries. Rashbam, in an answer in the name of Rashi, in Rabbeinu Simcha, of the opinion that even the second day you say Shechionu like the Rambam. The Rae and the other early commentaries, Goinim, say that you don't make a bracha Shechionu on the second days, only if the first day was on Shabbos and you haven't blown yet, then you make a Shechionu. And even those who say that you don't make a Shechionu by Kiddush, agree by Tkiyas that you do, since everyone admits that today we are not fulfilling our obligation with that which we did yesterday. It's not one long day. And this disagreement is brought in the Torah and the Rosh, the Hagos Maimonides, Hilchos Shabbos. In order to understand if the second day of Rosh Hashanah is different from the other days of the second days of festivals that we are held in the exile, we have to first give you this forward. What does it mean a long day? Which is brought down in the words of the Torah by an egg that was born, was hatched, was laid in the first day of Yom Tov of Rosh Hashanah. It's forbidden to be eaten even on the second day, even though regarding all other festivals, if an egg was laid by a chicken on the first day, you can eat it on the second day. Why? Because if the first day was Yom Tov, then today's not Yom Tov. If the first day was not Yom Tov, then you can eat it because it was laid not on Yom Tov. Rosh Hashanah is forbidden because the 2 days are considered like one long sanctification. And this is Halacha is brought down in Yom Tov. So we see that the Hagos Maimonides are well clarified in the words of the Torah and the Rambam. The Torah cites the name of the Tshuva of Rashi that our rabbis codified the law not to say Shechionu on Kiddush at night and the second night, because the 2 days of one long Kiddush and one blessing applies to both. It's different in Rosh Hashanah, the 2 days, from the other 2 days of exile, that you have to say Shechionu each day. Rosh Hashanah, since they're both one long day, you don't make a Shechionu on the second night, because he said a Shechionu on the first night. Rashi disagrees, and is of the opinion that you have to say a Shechionu in Kiddush even on the second night. And he adds, and so is our custom in our places and every place that I've passed through. There's no difference between Yom Tov and Rosh Hashanah to other days of exile of Yom Tov. Only regarding an egg, when it was laid in the first day, that is permitted in the second day by all other festivals. Or mechuba, or something that was somehow attached during the first day, and maybe somebody went by and pulled it out with his foot by accident, that one should be forbidden, or fell during the first day, an apple that fell down, it should be forbidden the second day. And the reason that there's a permission an egg is not possible by 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, because even in the time of the Bezdin, they used to make 2 days, even though there was no question of which day was Rosh Hashanah. And they would say, in other words, in the times of the Gemara, in the middle of the day, the witnesses would arrive. So even though they said the next day is going to be Rosh Hashanah, and today is not, they would complete the day with the sanctity of Kedusha, so that people next year would not be lenient about a day that might be witnesses coming, the first day. Therefore, it's considered like a long day. The other festivals of exile, they too did it because out of doubt, and therefore it remained in our hands today that we continue to do it, even though we have a calendar that's set, because of a custom of our forefathers in our hands, and what God forbid would happen if things would revert back to a previous time. According to Rashi, there's a question on why we should make a shechion on the second day. It would seem if we take both sides, if we're not sure when it starts, because we don't know if Bezin sanctified the month, and it's already Rosh Hashanah, or it wasn't Kiddush yet, until it's still the end of Elul, if it's our question, we should make a shechion. If it's the minig of Bezin, we rely on 2 days. We say shechionu because on the second day we begin to count the first day of Tishrei only from the second day, and he's the Rosh Hashanah, and you have to say shechionu. So the question is, in either way you'd have to say shechionu, even on Rashi, because it's either the first day was Rosh Hashanah, you have to say it because the first day. Well, actually, the second day is Rosh Hashanah. We didn't say it yet in Tishrei. Now, in the Torah, he brings the concept that his father, the Rosh, said that at the time of the Kiddush at night, you should say, take a fresh fruit. You should say, have it before him, and say a shechionu, and he should have his mind on the fruit. And that was the custom of the Maram Rottenberg. The Rambam writes in the Shabbos every night of Yom Tov and Neil of Yom Kippurim, you say shechionu. Maimonides says that we've seen that he takes in every night, and he didn't say the second day of Rosh Hashanah is any different than the others. Halacha, the Mechaber, the Shofar says, like the Rosh, you should have a new fruit or a new garment and say shechionu. If he doesn't have a new garment or a fruit, still you say shechionu. Regarding Shofar, blowing Shofar, the Mechaber says only if the first day is on Shabbos, then you say shechionu on the second day, because the first day they didn't blow. And from his words, it would seem that when the first day is in the day, and they made a brocha of shechionu on the tkiyas, you don't make a brocha again on the second day, and that is the minig of the Middle East, the Sephardic Jewry. But the Ramah says that even if you made a brocha on the first day, and that you still go on the second day, you make a brocha. And the Mishnah Berurah says that even when he doesn't have a new garment or a new fruit, you say a shechionu. Like that goes Maimonides, because the day, the second day, you do not fulfill your obligation with blowing on the first day, because it's not regarding the blowing considered a Yom HaRichter. And we don't say by Shofar Yom HaRichter, and so too by the brocha. He brings the name of the Magen Avram, that to begin with, he should put the one who is blowing the shofar, he should have a new garment in order to answer shechionu. Those who belong to the congregations of the Middle East go in the ways of the Shulchan Aruch, don't say shechionu on the second day. Those who go Ashkenazic Jewry, who go according to the Ramah, do say shechionu. Maggid Mishnah writes, this minig is in the whole world, and so we find Hilchos, the Riv, that we blow 3 times Tashrat, right, and 3 times Tashat, and 3 times Tarat, and you blow them both sitting and standing. You make the bracha of the Tkiya Lishmer Kol Shofar. And since the Tzibur need to hear the Tkiyas on the order of the brachas, therefore you blow again during the repetition by Malchus once, and the Zekoinus once, and Tarat once. That's just once. Now that's what it says in the Maggid Mishnah. Riv is like the language of the Rambam, and he says you should say, it would seem that even during the order of the brachas, they should blow according to have every possibility, meaning you should blow 3 times tashrat, 3 times tarat, tashat, and 3 times tarat. But since the brachas are not, if you blow without them, you also fulfill your obligation. You already fulfilled your obligation. Therefore, they only did it 1 time, not to cause the tzibur to have to wait. That's the meaning in the whole world, and in both yeshivas, which refers to the yeshivas that were in Pompedisa and Godol. And that's the Lashon of the Rambam, that after they blew 30, then you blow on each bracha only once tashrat, and 1 time tashat, and 1 time tarat. It's also written in the Maggid Mishnah that the time is to the many places in France to blow tashrat and malchus all 3 times. And not like by all of them tashrat only once, and not like the Rif and the Rambam. And the Ramban, the Rashba, said you should do according to the Goinim and the Rambam. That's the minik, that you should blow. The Malchi is Tashrat, the according to Tashat, the Shofar is Tarat. So according to these opinions, you would only have 40 notes that are blown, not more, 30, as we mentioned before, and another 10 when you blow during the repetition. And the Agos Maimonides writes that that's what we find in the city of Amram. And also Rabbeinu Hananel writes, and also Rabbeinu Shimshon ben Yoina. In Kedusha, which begins with Agan Asar, 40 kodesh b'havi enu. He says there's 40 notes you have to hear, not more. That's the custom of the world, not like Rabbeinu Tam, who said you should do 3 times. You should do 4 notes each time, which would be 4 times 3, which would be 12, and 30 would be 42. Because Rabbeinu Tam is brought by the Maggid Mishnah is you do only tashrat. We learned before that those who require tashrat, tashat, and tarat on every order of the brachas, we learned earlier that there are those who say that it's not enough tashrat to fulfill your obligations because there might be an extra voice involved in the blowing of the medium blast, which separate the first tkiya from the wailing sound, or the reverse. By the wailing sound would be a separation from the broken sound, and therefore you do all 3 types, even though you might have been able to fulfill your obligation with just the 4 notes. Still, it could be that true that's mentioned in the Torah is only shiurim, and therefore the other wailing sound would separate it, or vice versa. And if it's a wailing sound, then the medium sound before it 3 times, it separates it from the first one, and you still fulfill your obligation, and we don't have to worry that there's a separation, since the Halacha is Rabbi Yochanan, that we don't care what you have sounds other than the ones that are obligated. But according to these early commentaries, according to Rabbi Yochanan, if you heard 9 blowings in 9 hours, you fulfill your obligation, even though there was in the middle some other sounds. It doesn't affect the order if you have in mind. That's Rabbeinu Tam. In the Aruch, it seems that there were those who blew the long, the medium, the wailing, the long, and then the order of the long, the medium, and the long. The long, the waiting, and the long on every bracha of the 3 in Shemona Esrei. And he concludes, everyone has their customs, and the words of our masters, the Mechaber, and his reasoning. That's what he states. Thus we find that there are early commentaries that there's only 40 in total. When you have a time, there's 42. Because Machon Nesher HaGodol, you say each time 4 times 3. But according to the opinions that the Archri says, even the Malchus says, according to the Shofar, you blow all 3 types. Therefore, we blow 60 and 30, which we blow during the before Musaf, and that's 90. According to Aruch, each one you blow Tashrat, Tashat, Tarat. There is 10 by each blessing, 30. So you have 60 altogether. Halacha, the minig in all Yisrael is that you blow 100, and we'll Hashem, and Halacha Yud Beis will clarify where we get to the 100.